The launch pad was quiet, too quiet, and every pair of eyes was locked on the sleek white body of the rocket that stood like a steel giant waiting to awaken. Engineers whispered, scientists tapped their keyboards, and the countdown voice echoed through the control center like a heartbeat racing toward the unknown. At 10% power, the rocket came alive with a gentle rumble, flames licking the edges of the platform. It looked stable, calm, almost ordinary, as if everything was going according to plan. The team let out a breath of relief. But little did they know that the moment that dial moved to full power, the illusion of safety would vanish and a nightmare would begin. People watching on live streams around the world had no clue of the hidden tension in that control room. At low thrust, the machine behaved like a loyal servant, responding with precision, showing no cracks in its design. But rockets are deceptive creatures, machines that only reveal their true face under ultimate stress. And the moment the command came to push beyond testing levels, to release the full force hidden in its core, the rocket transformed. The hum became a roar, the platform shook violently, and engineers saw their screens flicker with data spikes no one wanted to believe. Alarms blared. Vibrations ran down the body of the rocket like tremors of anger. A red warning light flooded the control center, yet no one pressed stop. They couldn't. Billions of dollars, years of planning, reputations, and national pride were riding on this launch. People had careers tied to its success. Some even had their lives tied to it. And in those tense seconds, as the rocket screamed under the full burden of its own design, one thing became clear. Power reveals the truth. Spectators outside felt the ground tremble beneath their feet. Children covered their ears, parents held cameras, and journalists prepared their headlines. The rocket still stood, flames surging like a beast chained to the earth. But cracks had already begun inside. Sensors picked up temperatures climbing faster than predicted. Pressure built in the fuel chambers, reaching levels no simulation had fully captured. And then it happened, something subtle at first, so small that the untrained eye missed it. A faint distortion along the side, a shiver in the structure, like a predator twitching before it strikes. The engineers knew. One of them slammed a fist on the console, shouting numbers that no one wanted to hear. Another froze, eyes locked on the screen as if staring could stop the inevitable. Time slowed down. Every second felt like an hour. The rocket wasn't just fighting the gravity of Earth, it was fighting its own creation. 10% power had masked the truth. 100% tore the mask away. The order was given, proceed. And the giant broke free from the pad, ascending with a roar that shook the skies. At first, it seemed majestic, beautiful even. People clapped, cheered. Tears rolled down the faces of those who had worked day and night for this dream. But above the clouds, the real story was unfolding. Vibrations turned violent. Panels rattled. A storm of fire brewed inside the engines. The rocket that had looked like humanity's hope moments ago was turning into its doom. Inside the capsule, astronauts felt the tremors. Their breathing quickened, sweat dripping beneath helmets. Training had prepared them for turbulence, for malfunctions, for fear. But nothing prepares you for the moment you realize the machine meant to carry you to the stars is fighting to tear itself apart. They exchanged glances, silent, heavy with the weight of unspoken truth. One wrong spark, one unchecked valve, and everything would vanish in flames. Control tried to stay calm. Voices over the comms pretended stability. Words like nominal and within range filled the air, but beneath the surface, chaos reigned. Graphs soared beyond safety margins. Temperatures screamed higher. Fuel flow surged like blood pumping through an artery on the verge of bursting. And then, the nightmare reached its peak. A deafening crack split the sky. The rocket twisted, flames bursting out where they didn't belong. The cheering crowd fell silent. Shock rippled through every spectator. Some gasped, some screamed. Some dropped their cameras and simply stared as if their brains refused to process what their eyes were showing. On screen, numbers spiraled out of control. Engineers slammed switches, voices overlapped in panic, and one by one, the systems failed to respond. Pieces of metal tore away, spinning like daggers in the wind. Fire engulfed the lower stage, turning the once proud rocket into a torch against the heavens. A chain reaction had begun, one that no man, no technology could reverse. The sky lit up with an explosion so fierce that windows shattered miles away. It was not just a rocket anymore, it was destruction incarnate. The astronauts' final words were never broadcast. Their last sounds were swallowed by static, lost in the roar of fire and chaos. Families watching at home froze in horror, unable to believe that the dream that looked so beautiful at 10% power had become a fiery grave at 100. Nations fell silent. What was meant to be triumph turned into tragedy. For days, the world replayed the footage. Frame by frame, analysts dissected the moment power became destruction. Some blamed engineering flaws. Others whispered about overlooked warnings, ignored safety checks, corporate greed, and political pressure. Was it sabotage? Was it arrogance? Was it destiny? No answer was enough to fill the void of lives lost and dreams shattered. But the truth lingered like smoke after a fire sometimes. What looks stable at low power hides the monster waiting at full strength. Sometimes, success at 10% is nothing but a mask concealing disaster at 100. And in this story, the mask burned away to reveal the face of doom. Even today, when people watch that clip, their hearts race. Not because they see a rocket, but because they see themselves, the risks we take, the lies we believe, the truths we ignore until it's too late. And the haunting echo of that launch reminds humanity of a lesson carved in fire and steel. Power doesn't just build, it destroys, and sometimes, the closer we fly to the stars, the faster we fall into the flames. And as the ashes settled, one question remained. What would happen the next time we dared to push the throttle all the way? Would we conquer the sky or repeat the doom? The answer waits, hidden in the roar of the engines, waiting for the next countdown to begin.